Hi guys, I'm Alice and this is 4 Seasons Floss, where I talk about everything to do with houseplants, gardening and just being out in nature. Today, since it is my first ever video on this channel, I thought I would run you through all of my different houseplants, let you know what I have in my collection so far, and yeah, just tell you the kind of conditions that I keep them in and just give you a little bit of an insight into what I have growing at the minute. Now, I have to warn you, there's quite a lot of plants here. I didn't quite realise how many I had until I've just had to bring them downstairs to show you them, but I'll hopefully get through them as quick as possible and try not to waffle too much. In the future, I hope that I'll be able to do a little bit of a room tour. I keep the biggest majority of my houseplants in my bedroom because my mum doesn't like them around the house and I still live at home at the minute. So I keep most of them in my bedroom, but unfortunately I'm waiting on some nice weather. Fingers crossed we actually get a summer in England so that I can sand down and put back together all my shelves, and then I will be ready to give you a little bit of a room tour and show you exactly where I keep my plants to keep them happy. For now, we're just gonna run you through them. I'll show you what I have in my collection and yeah, let's get started. So I'm just gonna pick them randomly out. There's no specific order to this. So the first one here is my Begonia maculata, which I hope you can see in all her glory. I recently chopped her back as she was getting a little bit leggy, and this is what we're left with, but I do have some cuttings upstairs of her as well that I'm going to add in to this space to make her a little bit more of a bushy plant for now, and then maybe in the future I'll have her growing up some sort of moss pole or quapole or something like that, but for now I want to make her a little bit more bushy and focus on that. But there you are, that is my Begonia maculata. Next I'm going to show you my Alocasia polly that does not look in a good way, but I promise you this was not me that did this. I bought her, or saved her, from a garden centre a few months back, and she clearly wasn't happy because she's not put out any new growth since I bought her. The only growth that I've had so far is this leaf that's unfurled and it looks a little bit mangled, a little bit horrible, but hopefully I'm hoping to get her into hydro soon. I've seen that that's quite good for alocasias, so I might make a video on that and then let you know how she's doing when she's in the hydro, but yeah, she's not very happy at the minute. Next up is one of my plants that is in bloom at the minute. This is my Christmas cactus. She lives in my little indoor greenhouse, which I am sure I will show you in one of my videos at some point. But she is shiny, she is happy, and this is the first Kalanchoe, which is the scientific name, that I've actually managed to keep for any length of time, so I'm quite proud of myself. The next one is probably my smallest plant or leaf at the minute, and it's just this single leaf cutting of a Peperomia pixie. Now this is probably the third pixie that I've had. I've had one where I bought it as like a bush, and then I've had two cuttings, and for some reason, I think it's because it's not the most interesting of plants, I always end up neglecting it and it dies, so this is another attempt, but hopefully I'll start seeing some little shoots from her soon. So that is my Peperomia pixie. Next up is my Maranta, which has been through it since I bought her just after Christmas, I think it was. She came, she was really leggy. I wanted a bushy trailing plant, so when she got thrips in, I think it was March time, I decided that was the time to treat her and then chop her. And here is what we are left with now. This is fresh new growth since she's been chopped, and this is also, well, this leaf was new growth, and then we have this new leaf here, which is very exciting, and I just love the colours. My next plant to show you is another cutting but this one is a golden pothos or devil's ivy. So this was, I think, 3 separate cuttings. I think this leaf is part of this one. But we have a lot of new growth. I think if I turn her that way you'll be able to see better. But she has a lot of new growth at the minute, and it's taken her a while to get adjusted, but finally she's looking healthy. She's starting to get some variegation, and yeah, I'm very excited to see what this new growth looks like, because I cut these from my boyfriend's mum's plant and hers is looking stunning at the minute, so hopefully mine is just as variegated as that one soon. Next up is another colourful plant. This one is my purple passion, and I think she needs a little bit of water. She's a little bit floppy at the minute at the tops, but I am going to be looking to take some cuttings of her shortly to take to the whole another plant swap. Next up is the cutest plant ever. This plant, I want to say it's some sort of peperomia, but it's one of the only ones that I wouldn't know what the name of it is. This one, I thought they were thrips. I've been battling thrips at the minute, so any sign of anything that even remotely looks like a thrip sends me into panic mode. But this one started off as a single leaf cutting, which was this leaf here, and has since sprouted and absolutely burst into life, and I could not be happier, because she didn't look too well and it took her a long time to get going, but I'm so pleased with her. I seem to be going for all the small plants first, so we might get those out of the way and then move on to something a little bit bigger, because there are a few that are humongous basically. So this one is my string of pearls. Not had it very long, so there's not really much I can tell you about it, but she seems to be growing. She's starting to trail. She wasn't really trailing very much when I first got her, but I bought me and my boyfriend's mum, again, I bought us both one as a little treat, and both of them are doing very well at the minute, so hopefully it carries on like this and I get a really big string of pearls, because I think they look stunning once they're like full and all trailing over. This is my Ripple Jade plant that's got a bit of dust on it. I don't know how well you can actually see that, but yeah, she is not looking at her best at the minute, but hopefully now that she's in my care we'll get her looking nice and ripply and not as crispy as she does at the minute. Another one is this Tradescantia, and anyone who can ID this one, then please help me out below, because I am struggling at the minute to be able to ID this one. But this Tradescantia I got at the weekend from the Sheffield plant swap. There wasn't that much left by the time I got in there in the mix. It was my first plant swap, so I'll know in future to race to what I want to get. I have chopped her back. She was a big plant, but she looked just really leggy and I wasn't really happy with it, so we've got a little one, and then I've got a lot rooting upstairs at the minute. So this next one is just annoying me a little bit at the minute. So this is my, I think it's variegated, but correct me if I'm wrong, my variegated string of nickels, and it was a cut-in and it's just not doing anything. Now it's not dying, so I'm taking that as a positive, but she was a lot more pink when I got her as well, so fingers crossed she survives. But I'm down to, I think, my last few small plants. This one is a pineapple plant. This was a little freebie that I got with some cuttings from someone in a plant group, and yeah, seems to be okay at the minute. This next one is one of my older plants. This is my snake plant that I actually grew originally from this one spike, which is quite exciting now looking at it. For a while it didn't do anything. Since I have shuffled around all my plants and moved it into slightly brighter light, she seems to be doing really well, so hopefully she carries on and gets even fuller. Another one is, and this is my oldest plant that I currently have, this is my Pilea Moon Valley, and this has to be one of my all-time favourite plants that I've owned. She's just stunning, and we had a little bit of an issue at the end of last year and she ended up with root rot, but luckily I caught it in time, and I think, touch wood, that she's survived and is now thriving again, because for a second it was touch and go. I thought I'd lost her. I just sit and stare at her sometimes because she's just that stunning. So yeah, that is my Pilea Moon Valley, and again I'm hoping to take some cuttings from this one and take that to another plant swap in Hull next month. Next up is another single leaf cutting. You'll probably be able to tell I do a lot of single leaf cuttings just because it's a little bit of a cheaper way. I've learnt to back myself with propagating plants now. I know the different methods that work, what works and what doesn't work for different types of plants. So yeah, a lot of mine will be single leaf cuttings just because I've just finished uni, I was a student, I didn't have the money to keep spending on big plants, especially some of the more fancy ones that are out there. So this one was a single leaf cutting of a Syndapsus. Started off as this one, and we've now got 3 leaves, although this is one of the ones that has been battling thrips. Probably can tell from the end of that one. But at the minute we are all clear, and hopefully she'll be back to growing nicely soon because she is stunning. The next plant that I'm going to show you is my String of Hearts, which is growing very nicely now. This is again another cutting that I bought from someone on Etsy. I ended up cutting her into 3 cuttings because it was quite a long one. And she's nicely filling out her pot now, so hopefully at some point soon I'll be able to upsize her and maybe cut her off a little bit again and get her even fuller and bushier and ready to start properly trailing. This next one is my baby cheese plant, which you wouldn't be able to tell at the minute because she's not mature enough to have any fenestrations, which are the little holes. But yeah, I took this out of my big cheese plant. There was 3 plants in it and one of them was this tiny little baby. So I'm hoping that at some point soon we will have another new leaf. This next one is my Chinese money plant, which I bought as a plant. This wasn't a cut-in, and she's growing nicely, but I don't know whether she's not in the perfect conditions for her or what, but she just doesn't always look the happiest. She was a little bit root bound, so I didn't upsize her pot. She's in the same pot that I bought her in, but I just gave her some fresh soil and released those roots. This next one is a cutting that my boyfriend's mum gave me again. You'll get used to hearing that. And this is a Dieffenbachia. I think this is called the Dieffenbachia Camille, or Camille, if I'm not mistaken. And since my boyfriend's mum gave her to me, she's got another new leaf coming through, and then she's had these 2 leaves as well. So she clearly likes it here. But this one is quite a cool one. This is some sort of Pilea that I cannot remember the name for the life of me. Every time I go to talk about this plant, I have to look up the name, and I've forgotten to look up the name, so I will write it below somewhere. But this is a type of Pilea with little silver dots on that almost give it that begonia type of look. But this was a little bit of a bargain from Lidl, I think it was, either Lidl or Aldi. And she's one of the only plants that I have that I can visibly see when she needs water. Like, she's dramatic, let's put it that way. Next one is another bargain that I got from IKEA this time, and this is my Philodendron Birkin. Now, this is one that I don't think I'd have gone and searched for, and I don't think I would have got a cutting of. However, I saw her, my boyfriend was like, you should get it, you clearly like it, you should get it. You should get it. And by the time he said it the 3rd time, I was like, I'm gonna get it, it's all good. I'm just in love with the texture of the leaves on these, and she has new growth. which is the first little bit of new growth since I got her, I think, I want to say. Final one for my smaller plants. This one isn't necessarily that small, it's quite tall, it's very leggy, but it is one of my smaller plants. It's definitely in a small pot. But this is my Carolina Lucerna begonia, and isn't she just stunning? And this week I've had the best week ever because she's actually blooming, if you can see it in there. And I will be taking a lot of photos of this, so you can definitely check out over on TikTok and on my Instagram, because I will be updating nearly daily about this bloom until it comes out, because I am so excited. Now on to some of the bigger plants, and some of these are huge. There's two that are probably not big in comparison to some of the people's plants that I've seen, but they're big. They're my biggest plant. That is my Calathea Maui Queen, which is absolutely thriving in the kitchen. One of the only ones that my mum really truly likes, so I'm taking advantage of that by keeping her in the kitchen. But she is big, and she was only £4. I'm just so happy with her because I was scared for a long time to own Calatheas and Marantas, and my Maranta was the first one I got, and then I saw this, and for that price it was worth the risk. But I've had her nearly 2 months now, and touch wood, she's still doing okay, so I'm hoping that I've got green fingers with Calatheas, because some of them are absolutely gorgeous. Now this one is a little bit of an underrated one in my opinion, but this next one is my Dieffenbachia compacta, and I just think all Dieffenbachias are so stunning, but this one in particular, again, it was an Aldi buy, and for the price of their plants, how can you say no? Now the last one before my two biggest plants is my, let me grab her, my spider plant. I think just the hanging leaves just adds a little bit of something to like a drab corner, and I just really love her, and I think the fact that it was a gift makes me love her even more. But yeah, she's just gorgeous. One of my underrated favourites. So as I say, the last two left to show you before I show you some of my cuttings upstairs on my cutting rack are my cheese plant, which is here, and this. I feel like I'm introducing my child. Isn't she just stunning? Again, she was another bargain. I had never gone out looking for a cheese plant because I expected them to all be quite expensive. But when I got Brie, she was on the reduced section in B&Q, and I couldn't not. I genuinely just could not leave her behind. She was £6, and she had one leaf that had gone a bit funny, and other than that she has been happy and healthy since I got her, and recently I upsized her pot and she seems to be doing well. She has so far this year put out, I'm trying to figure out which ones now. This is definitely a new leaf, although this one got a little bit thrip bitten, and I'm waiting to do a second treatment on her just to make sure that they're all gone. So this is a new leaf. Obviously this new leaf here has not even unfurled yet. I hope you can tell, I hope you can see that. And then this one was a new leaf as well, which my nephew, I was quite proud. I showed him Brie and he said it was the most perfect leaf he'd seen. So when your nephew tells you that, you know you're doing something right with your cheese plant. But yeah, this is Brie and she is like my baby. So I am down to the final plant to show you, and the final one was a Facebook Marketplace find, which is something that I don't often do with plants unless, as I say, they are small. But it was one of those that I saw it and I couldn't not get her. But this is my Philodendron Burlemarx, and she's full and she's happy and she's thriving. And she even has a new leaf coming through, which is the first one since I bought her, and I've had her about a month and a half now. It was before I went on holiday, so she's been here a while. but I think she needed a little bit of time to acclimate. So this is my gorgeous Philodendron Burl Marks. As I say, she was just a no-brainer. I could not indulge and buy her. So my next thing is to show you my cuttings rack. I will take you and show you that and show you how I store all my cuttings. This here is my cuttings rack. I do apologise for the bad lighting, but as you can see I don't have that much in there at the minute. I have my begonia cuttings, I have an Adansonii cutting, a Pilea cutting, this Tradescantia that was from a plant that we bought for my boyfriend's mum again, and then a little Chinese money plant cutting right in there, and then another begonia. The rack was just a Facebook Marketplace find that I've painted up and stuck to the wall, but I thought it was such a cute idea that I couldn't not do it. So there we go, that is all my plants except for one exciting thing, which is when I repotted my Alocasia poly, I found some corms in there. So I also have them currently in perlite, and I have just thrown them everywhere, so they're not quite secured, so hopefully you can see those. But fingers crossed, at some point soon I will have some tiny little Alocasia poly, and hopefully they grow better than my actual big Alocasia. So guys, that was all of my plants, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up down below, and I will very much appreciate that. And hopefully you'll be back to watch another video in the future. I would be very, very grateful if you did. So thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you soon.